Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil. In this video, guys, I want to talk about mods, and I want to answer a question that I got in my comment section talking about how I get mods, like how I've been increasing my mods, right, getting better and better speed mods, better secondaries, all that stuff. They asked, what levels did I start spending on my mods? So I'll give you guys some thresholds you can be thinking about, and then I'm going to talk to you guys about the biggest mistake I see players make in this game related to modding, and give you 3 suggestions on not only how to avoid that, but then also show you how I go through when I need to mod a new character. I've done some videos like this in the past, but I think it's good every once in a while to revisit this topic because there's just so much to do here. There's a lot to unpack. So let's get into our video, guys. I want to start it off first by paying homage to our king, Wampa. If you guys want to see Wampa, hit Relic 8 live on stream. I will host a live stream. You guys know that's rare for me. We will hold special live stream. Wampa will hit Relic 8. You guys can watch me laugh, cry, and join in on the fun. Remember, guys, Wampa may not always be in your team, but he's always right here in your heart. Okay, let's talk about mods. Mods are probably one of the most complicated parts of Galaxy of Heroes, right? They really are. There's so much that goes into them. You can't just say you want to focus on speed because a lot of characters need secondaries. And so how do you get these things? How do I focus on them? What am I doing every single day to ensure I have the best mods possible? So the first thing I want to explain is the mistake I see a lot of players make, and I call it being gear poor. Now, why am I mentioning gear in a mod video? Gear poor is when you have your characters like this, right? That you've got the galactic legends, you've got your legendaries, good ships, whatever the case is, right? That you have this stuff, you've got the tools necessary. But you don't have the mods to back up what you have in your roster. So the example I would use is if I didn't have 6E mods on my characters, if they weren't fast or didn't have good secondaries, right? That's when you're gear poor. It's not this, it's kind of similar to if you guys have ever heard the term house poor, where you buy a house that you really can't afford. So all of your money has to go into your mortgage payment, and then you don't have a nice car, you can't afford to go out to eat, anything like that. It's kind of the same concept here, where you've spent all of your resources to obtaining these characters that you never got around to actually giving them mods that they deserve. So how can you avoid this? I'm going to show you some mistakes that I've made, and hopefully give you guys the tools necessary to keep pushing through that, big hurdle that is mods. So you guys know I talk about the big 3 in energy, which is your ships, your regular, and your cantina. The thing that those 3 energy has in common is that it's all about taking a character from level 1, whatever, all the way up to, Relic 9, right? That's the whole purpose of that gear, is that it takes you from Gear 1, Level 1, all the way up to Relic 9. You'll never be able to spend as much resources on your mods as you do characters. It cannot happen. And that's simply because of the amount of energy that can go towards, gearing up characters comparatively to mods, where there's only one way to spend mod energy, right? And that can be split between obtaining mods here and the challenges, or obtaining slicing materials once you get to the level 9 for mods. Myself, I'm at the stage of the game where I've obtained enough mods that I need to focus on slicing them. So when did I move into that? Right? And I've covered this before and I have a separate video. I will link that in the description down below, where you guys can see the different mod phases and when you should be switching between those. I don't really want to talk about that as much. What I'll briefly mention here is when you should start, like how to avoid getting gear poor comes into play, that you're going to be always doing refreshes to do more regular energy attempts, cantina, ships, right? So the general rule of thumb a long time ago, this is probably dating me. If you guys are a veteran player, you know exactly what I'm going to talk about. In the old days, we used to say that if you get 200 crystals a day, you spend 100 of it in the cantina and 100 of it on regular energy refreshes. Obviously, with the introduction of ships, that changed where you could maybe split between ships and regular. That's fine. The other side, too, is once you hit 250, maybe you do the 2 regular, a fleet, and a cantina refresh, and there's your 250 energy. Once you hit 300, I think you really, really need to start thinking about potentially doing a mod refresh a day. Mods are something that, just like everything else in this game, it's not a sprint, right? It's a marathon. And if you don't, like, you think, oh, well, one good mod makes a difference. Sure, but you need 6 of them for every single character. So one good mod can help you, but if you have a 27 speed mod and your opponent's best mod is 20, and you have 127 speed and they have 6 20 speed mods, your opponent's much better off because you have one really good mod, they have 6 good mods. That's why I think it's important that you just focus on spending those resources obtaining mods, then working on the slicing, right? And again, my video link down below, make sure you guys go check it out. We'll explain all those different things. So the way to avoid being gear poor is investing those resources in your mods in, in a way that's not going to break the bank for you. But while you're also investing in characters, don't just go right ahead to do 3 and refreshes here, 3 refreshes here, 3 refreshes here, and do no mod refreshes. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You're going to end up in a position where you're not going to have enough mods that are good enough for your characters. I do want to show you guys the mod store. This is primarily in the end game where you're going to get your mods from, because farming mods is, you're really RNG dependent on what you get, and it can be very resource intensive to find those good mods. So what I like to do is kind of search through the store here, and I don't see anything that's striking my fancy, right? I don't see anything that's worth me taking a look in this store for. Nothing with speed that, like, this is okay, it's not great. Not for me anyway. So I'm just going to not buy any mods today. So what do I do on a daily basis to ensure that I'm getting these mods besides doing my refreshes? So I broke it down. I have some things here I want to show you guys on how I do it. So the first thing I do is I prepare for modding, right? I prepare my characters for modding. So my example here would be Iden Versio. I just geared her up for her ship. So I put some random mods that I had in my inventory on her. And none of these are really fantastic, right? They're not that good of mods. However, what I've done is I've set myself aside to say, okay, this is similar to a set I would want for Iden, right? I want potency, crit damage, right? These are kind of the sets that I want for her. So let's say I go up and I gear up my Iden Versio. Now I've already got mods that I know I want on her. So then I can go and figure out who I'm going to take those mods from. Another example of something like this would be, if I actually go into, is my armor. This is one so armor, I'm going to want her to be fast. So I've put on some mods for her that are decent, right? There's some that are really good. Like this one's pretty good, right? That's just the secondaries aren't that great, so I left it on her. So armor has mods on her. When I go to relic her, when I go to add additional gear to her, what I will end up doing is I will take a look at my characters and figure out how she's going to get faster if I want to make her faster than what she is. How do you do that? Well, that's in the next squad right here where I say set your priorities. Understand your account and figure out which characters you're willing to take mods from and in which order. So in here, I've got Darth Revan, I've got Mara Jade, and I've got Echo. Those are 3 characters where I am not going to be touching their mods unless I'm going to make them better. That I will not go into Mara Jade and steal any of her mods away because I like the speed that she's at, I like the stats that she has on her. It's the same thing with my Darth Revan. I don't feel like if I take mods away from these characters, I am inherently losing value to my roster because of where they're at, because of the work that I've put into them for. So set your priorities. Understand which characters are untouchable and which characters you're willing to steal mods from. So I put 5 characters here that I would say, like my Jedi Master Luke of all these characters is one that I have moved mods around for. But I have him to the point now where I will not be moving these mods off of Master Luke unless I find something that's significantly better. That I will not be making him slower or losing protection on him because I think it's really important that he stays where he's at. So with these priorities set, right, you've set priorities, you said, okay, these characters are untouchable. Now that leaves you the characters of what I would say you have your small reductions. And this is how you know that your roster is making progress in modding. If you want to know how you're making progress in your modding, it's when, if let's say I need to make a new character with a speed set. So let's say I go to Admiral Piet and I'm going to take his, let's just say I'm going to take his circle here, just the example of the circle. So 23 speed protection circle. Let's see who has one of those. Newt Gunray has a circle here. Okay, it's 22 speed. It's health, it's not protection, but it's 1 speed slower than my Piet. All right, so now my Piet has gotten 1 speed slower. Newt Gunray at the edge of my list here is somebody that I'm willing to say, you know what, I'm willing to reduce his mods. I don't really need him as fast for what I use my Separatists for. There are some characters, like maybe for some of you, your Bosk and Grief would be on the list of I don't care, I don't have good bounty hunters, I'm willing to reduce them. For me, Dash Rendar kind of at the tail end here to say, you know what, I don't have a good smuggler team, so I'm willing to reduce him where necessary to make other characters better. Let's say I need to replace this triangle here on Admiral Piet. So I'm going to go figure out, okay, what does Dash Rendar's triangle look like? Okay, it's 4 speed slower. All right, I can stomach that. I can make Piet slower because someone else in my roster is getting better. So this is the measuring post for each of these characters, is rather than maybe replacing my Piet here with, and where's my Darth Atreus? She's got a, where's somebody here? I know there's one. Sorry guys, I had the mod picked out that I was going to show. Where is it on? Yeah, here we go. So my officer has a 6, I'd be losing 6 speed here with my Admiral Piet. Now obviously I'm switching primaries too, but just for the sake of the argument here, I'm losing 6 speed. However, if I go to my dash and I put my dash mod here, I've lost 4 speed. Okay, so it's not as significant as, that speed reduction, right? But I've only lost 4 speed on my Piet, and my dash now only loses 2 speed. And then I can go figure out with my officer, okay, maybe I'll use, let's go find a health percent mod here. Maybe I take one from Phasma, right? I take this mod from Phasma and I'm saying, you know what? You don't deserve that. And then maybe Phasma gets this offense mod from Leia, right? You go down your list and you figure out which characters you can take mods from. And eventually what it does to you, as you guys saw in this example, sure, Piet got slower, right? All of these characters got slower, but they all got fractionally slower rather than Piet losing 8 speed. I'm going to make him lose 4 and then kind of push off those losses on other characters who maybe aren't as important as Piet. And this is when you know that you've made mod progress. It's not when you get your first, I know I have one on Bosk here. It's not when you get a mod like this. That doesn't mean you've made mod progress. It's what happens if I need to move this mod to somebody else? What's the one that can take its place? So if I was to go in here, let's just filter. If I was to have to take its place, okay, I only have 12. Well, I've got a 19 speed mod. Okay, I'm losing 7 and I'd be losing 7. So this is an area that I could maybe potentially increase my inventory because I don't have a lot of good defense mods here, right? Like this is an area where I could maybe beef myself up. If we're going to go to speed here, and I'm just going to sort by speed. Let's say I need to rip this mod off of Bosk. Okay, Phasma's got 12 speed. I can maybe take that off of her. Range Trooper has a 13 speed. That's potential that I can move, right? Yoda's got 12. All of a sudden, you kind of come down the list and you see that I've got a bunch of mods in this, 11, 12, 13 range that my Bosk is only going to lose a little bit. And then these characters are only going to lose a little bit. And that is going to make you a much better player. So in conclusion, right, I know I covered a lot, kind of bounced around a little bit. The way to avoid being, if we come back to the main point here, the way to avoid being gear poor isn't to have one good mod set. It's to have multiple mod sets that are all really good, that you've cultivated this almost culture in your roster, that everybody has some decent mods on them. And when you get a new character, instead of having to rip all of your best mods off of Admiral Piet for your Galactic Legend, or having to rip all your mods off of Jedi Knight Luke or somebody for a Dark Trooper, whatever the case is, that you have ones in place that you can just take from everybody, and one character becomes really, really good, right? The newest character you get becomes amazing, and then everybody else in your roster just loses a little bit, because it's going to happen. And then as you get other mods, right, as you replace those other mods, they kind of take over. That maybe my Luke here, I have this crit damage mod, 20 speed, but no offense percent. Maybe I find one that's got a ton of offense percent here that's 16 speed. I go find someone who can benefit from this mod. And you just work your way down the list that way. So hopefully this helps you guys understand the way that I look at my mods, the way that I'm progressing through, and the way that I see this game. I think it's super, super important that you understand the priorities of your roster, that you understand which characters are going to benefit you with mods, which ones maybe not so much, and understand how to get the most out of them. And when obtaining a new character, how to ensure that your roster isn't drastically changing, that it's only taking small decreases for that new character who's going to boost your roster. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are down below. I'm curious to see if this helps you guys. As always, guys, like and subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.